spent over 20 years working with over 10,000 people, from elite athletes to business leaders. And what I've realized from this time is that most people, when it comes to growth, they don't have a strategy problem, they have a state problem. And so today I'm going to talk to you about how to actually utilize your state to grow your business because they are truly one and the same. And so let's just start with this. One of the things that I've noticed with a lot of these people that are trying to grow, whether you're an entrepreneur, a CEO, a founder of some business, one of the things that I noticed straight away is that most people are trying to effort their way to success, whether they're an elite athlete or a business person. They should try to use effort to create success. And it's so intrinsic in our DNA because of what we've been programmed to believe, which is effort equals success. Now, I always talk about societal, religious, and parental programming. And the reason why these are key is because they create the foundation for what you believe is possible. So just think of it like this. If both of your parents were elite athletes and you saw and witnessed them breaking world records or scoring goals or winning tournaments or whatever it may be, you would impose that belief on yourself through observation because children model, they model their appearance. And you would see what's possible as being something different versus if you were raised by two parents that didn't really achieve much in their life in terms of success. So the programming is fundamental, and it's one of the things that's created this dissonance in this field where people think effort creates success. So you can create success, but as I always say, at what cost? Look at all of those presidents and prime ministers. They get into office and look at them prior to getting to office and then becoming the leader of the country. What you'll notice is how fast they age. This is not woo, this is absolute fact. You can go online and see these things. These people age so fast because they're under so much stress and they are creating results, but at what cost? The cost is to themselves, their health, their longevity, their relationships with their family, their relationships with themselves, because they think effort is the blueprint. And because people witness this, they model that as well. So you have these programs that I spoke about just now, societal programs, which is where you see rich people or wealthy people, and you see how much they talk about 60-hour weeks and not sleeping much and creating success. And you model that. Or you witness your parents and you model that. So societal parental programs. And then there's religious programs that can also put effort into specific things as well. So these programs, and not so much with the religious when it comes to effort, but these programs govern your insight as how you will be. And so I've worked with quite a few 7 to 8 figure founders, and I see this pattern within them where they effort and they ruin their relationships. Most of them are tired, fatigued, wired, and, on stimulants, constantly needing coffee or drugs to keep themselves going, and they burn themselves out. They literally cannot sleep at night or get good night's sleep. They wake up tired and then the day continues, the cycle continues. This is not the way forward. It is not sustainable to live that way. So I want to talk to you today about the state, regulating your nervous system. You've all heard of the nervous system. It's become such a buzzword nowadays, but I want to break it down from my methodology, which is the energetic alchemy system, looking at things from the alpha brainwave state. So if you haven't seen any of my videos before, my name's Warren Williams and I'm a human operating system architect. So it's not about coaching, it's about rebuilding the operating system that drives performance. And the way we do that is by diagnosing what's actually happening with somebody at a physiological level. Because your mind can take you so far and you can push beyond the physicality of the body, but again, at what cost? And so it's not about sacrificing the body for the mind to create success. That is one way to do it, but it's not the right way to do it. It's about creating ease and flow when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to success, when it comes to fulfillment. And one of the ways that we do this is through the nervous system. Okay, so let me break this down for you. The mind's primary vehicle of expression is the nervous system. This is something I was taught many years ago. And you might think, well, what does that actually mean? So your mind, what you think, what you perceive to be true, that mind gets its input from the nervous system. So if your heart is beating at 95, 100 beats per minute, your mind perceives there is a threat to the body because your mind gets its feedback from the nervous system to tell you whether you are safe or not. No one, I always say this, no one ever says, I feel, or sorry, I think bad. See, I'm even going to the default, which is feel. So nobody really says, I think bad. They say, I feel bad because feeling is what governs the mind first. So it's about the nervous system itself. So there are basically two branches to the nervous system. There's the there's the sympathetic, which is basically effort, doing, activity, cannibalizing, metabolizing energy. And then there's the parasympathetic system, which is rest, digest, recovery, calm. That is the system that we want to tap into more often because people in the Western world are addicted to chaos, they're addicted to stimulants, and they're addicted to effort. This is what is also known as yang. So the sympathetic nervous system itself is necessary, but if you keep using it without recovery, that creates the term you've all heard before, burnout, which is a perception when it comes to overwhelm. So physically or physiologically, you are burnt out, and psychologically or mentally, you are overwhelmed. And no matter how hard you push or how strong your mind is, you cannot overcompensate for the body. And so what I see is people that are incredibly driven, whether you're a 7 to 8 figure founder or building a business from the ground up and trying to build momentum. If you are just using effort, you're sacrificing your body to get there. And I see this so often that people are able to offset the nervous system's responses to the mind to keep pushing, but then the body starts to create illness. So you'll see people that are living off stimulants. You'll see people with elevated heart rate. You'll see people that just cannot wind down. They cannot be fully present. They are always on the go. Now, if that sounds like you, that is a nervous system in disarray or dysfunction. And so your default when you're training yourself to be that way, to push hard, is to be in sympathetic. And the sympathetic nervous system pushes you into a spike where you are in such a doing stage of yang that becomes your default. Your body adapts to whatever impulse you place it under. So, to give you an example of that, have you ever seen somebody smoking for the very first time? And if you have, you will always see them cough and gag straight away because their body isn't used to it. Now, fast forward 3 months, watch that same person again, and they'll smoke like a pro. There's no physiological reaction that you can see, but it is measurable, it is affecting them, but their body adapted to it, is my point. So, everything you place upon your body, the body finds a way to adapt. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect the body. It's just adapting as best as it can. Why? Obviously, because the body is built to survive. So if you smoke 40 cigarettes a day, you won't die tomorrow after doing it for one day. But accumulation over time, you will have some form of physiological problem. So my point in that is not to scare you, but just to give you an understanding that you can do things, but again, at what cost? And so if you're one of these people that are found and honest enough to know that you've actually found that your body isn't doing the things it used to, you are looking older than you should do, you are feeling tired, you cannot sleep properly, you find it very hard to be fully present, you can't let go, you can't relax, then it's because your nervous system has adapted to the stimulation that you've placed it under, which is sympathetic. And so if you're curious about, well, am I one of those people? I always put my quiz at the bottom of these videos. It takes 90 seconds and it will let you know through 8 questions where you are on the scale. If you are in tier 1, which is reactive, very yang, or if you're moving into tier 2, which is more stabilizing and ability to relax and unwind after a hard day of work. So just take that 90-second quiz. It's free and it'll be attached to this email and you'll know where you are and then what the next steps are. And so then going back into this nervous system stuff, the second part, as I expressed, was the parasympathetic nervous system. And as I said, parasympathetic is rest, digest, and recovery. Now, with the parasympathetic nervous system, one of the things that's beautiful about this is that it allows you to go into this unwind. So there are things that you can do to actually stimulate this. It could be breath work, tai chi, qigong, going for slow walks in the park, in nature, stretching. Any of these sort of things are very relaxing. Yoga, meditation, these sort of things allow your body to unwind and relax. Now you might think, well, how's that going to help me build a business? Well, it is because what it's actually doing is it's allowing you to create a greater capacity to handle stress. So when you're working, there is physiological stress being placed on your body because you have targets, you have deadlines, you have goals. And all of this puts you under that fight, flight response, which is not natural to sustain for more than a few minutes, which is where your body is actually trying to get you to survive a life or death event. But you're mirroring that at a slightly lower level, but for consistent amount of time, which is not normal for the body. So when you can actually increase your capacity by doing these things, it's actually helping your nervous system become more regulated. And the reason why is because then your body goes from activity to rest. It's a natural pulsation wave that happens, just like when you inhale and then you exhale. That's a natural pulsation. But it's also the same when you sleep and you wake up. It's a natural pulsation. Everything is duality and everything is polarity. But if your body can't naturally undulate and do this, then that is where you're getting into this trap of overwhelm, burnout, because you're constantly in one state. So when it comes to this, what I talk about with the autonomic nervous system, you've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is yang, parasympathetic is yin or in. Yin is in, recovery. But within this, we have different tiers or different levels. And when you take that quiz that I like to attach here, you'll be able to see where you are on those tiers. So tier 1 to tier 5 each have a level of capacity, allowing you to spend more or less time in yang or yin, or output and input. And so when you can spend more time in input versus output, you're recovering more. And when you recover more, you increase your capacity. When I say that, I'm talking about physiologically, you can handle more. And the more you can handle, the faster you can recover because you have reserves. Just like when you train, you go to the gym. If you've had a good night's sleep, you'll be able to have a better workout because you are more recovered and have greater reserves. So it's the same sort of thing. Now, this stress, as we spoke about, it's affecting the nervous system. The nervous system gives feedback to the brain. And there are so much studies that prove this, that when you are in what I like to call the beta brainwave state, which is sympathetic or yang, too long to the point where it's just creating so much compensation in the body, when you are physiologically stressed through the type of work that you've been doing for so long, studies have shown that cognitively, you actually have a 15 to 20% less capacity to make decisions. And that affects the whole business. Imagine, let's just think about this for a second. Let's say you're making £1 million a year. Well, now you have 20% diminishing returns in your capacity to actually scale your business. So that means physiologically and actually from a metric point of view from your business, because you can't make decisions at the highest level, that's a 20% cost to your business. That's £200,000 off the table because you're not able to push your body to the level that you want to create the results, because you can push yourself, but for only so long. The tide goes out, but yet it comes back in. And that is, you can push so far and then eventually your body pushes back. So why am I talking about all this? Because I really want you guys to win. I want you to be able to get to the point where you can build your business in flow, because the new system that we're in, this new earth that people keep talking about, it's really about building your business from the inside out. What does that look like, you may say? Well, building your business from the inside out means reserves, first of all, spending time throughout your working day to actually rest, as in really rest. Train your nervous system to feel what it feels like to calm down and to do nothing. Remember, doing nothing and being still create healing on the body. So when I say doing nothing, I really want to change that and say being still, because when you are being still, you actually accomplish a lot for your nervous system. You're healing. So think of it like this. Sleeping isn't doing nothing, is it? When you sleep, your body is healing, it's regenerating, so it's doing something, it's being still. So, now I want to just talk about how you do that. When I work with these founders, one of the things I want to establish is, first of all, how many hours are you doing a day? So if you're doing these typical 10 to 12-hour days, what you want to do is every every 2 to 3 hours, you want to make sure you're spending 5 minutes in some form of relaxation, some form of what I call a quantum reset. Whether it's that breathing that I mentioned, like some form of breath work or stretching or Tai Chi, even rebounding. A great idea is to get a rebounder in your office. Why? Because you're flushing the system, creating movement, because you're stagnant when you're sitting at a desk for hours at a time. You're not moving the body, and the body is built to move. I always say this: life is movement, and movement is life. We're built to move. So get up and go on a rebounder and just flush your body, start creating this pumping effect. It actually gives you energy, because stagnation takes energy away from you. If you sit for 5 or 6 hours, you just feel tired. But if you keep getting up every few hours, it wakes you up. So this helps to flush and pump the nervous system. So it could be breath work, it could be stretching, it could be rebounding, it could be meditation, it could be stillness, it could be going for a walk. Something like this every 2 or 3 hours. And you might think, well, it's eating into my time. I'm telling you now, you can go and look this up. There's so much research. If you push yourself for 3 or 4 hours, you're going to start getting negative returns. So let's say in the first 2 hours, you're actually able to output for 100%. But the third hour, your output drops to 90%. And the fourth hour, your output drops to 80%, and so on. So you get 10% less, and then 20% less, and then 30% less. So over time, your cognitive ability diminishes through the hours. So you're not going to get the same return. But what if you worked hard for 2 or 3 hours at 100%, then you actually had a rest, a quantum reset of 5 minutes that gave your whole body and mind an absolute rest. You recharged your batteries and then started the next 2 or 3 hours at 100% again. That would be far more productive than what you're probably doing right now, which is working flat out until you have to stop. The results would be astronomically far, far greater. And again, you can Google all of this stuff and see the results from this. It's also been tested and proven through science, once again, because most people have to have the science, that when you actually are stressed out and you are in a beta brainwave state, which is again this fight or flight, this do stage, what's been proven that it only takes 3 to 5 minutes to go into the alpha brainwave state, which is rest and recovery, intuition, clear insight. That is only need 3 to 5 minutes, which is why I build this into my programs when I'm working with my clients. Non-negotiable, 3 hours maximum, 5 minutes reset and then restart. That will allow you to be so much more productive. So I kind of want to end it here. It's about your state. So once you increase your state, you increase your capacity. Once you increase your capacity, you can grow your business from a clearer level of insight, because your body has reserves. And therefore also because you are used to offsetting and going into input, you actually know how to unwind. So I call it intentional beta. So you intentionally focus and then exit beta into alpha recovery. And the more you do this, your nervous system gets trained to go on and off. So that when you're fully present with your family, it's because you're in the parasympathetic. When you're able to be present, it's because you're in the parasympathetic or the alpha brainwave state. So I know I've used a few terms here, but it's just I wanted to make sure everybody understands from different points of views. Alpha is what we call yin, it's called input, and it's also called parasympathetic. And then beta is called yang, it's called output, and it's also called the doing stage or the sympathetic kind of pushing point. So we want to try and be in alpha more often to train the nervous system to pulsate between activity and rest. So it becomes natural for you to do so. And the more you do that, like I said, it increases your capacity and therefore increases your ability to scale and grow. It's not about strategy. It's about your state. Your state governs everything. Again, if you want to know more, take the quiz. It's free, it's 90 seconds. Figure out what state you're in, what level you are on my tier system. And if you're in tier one, which is reactive, you may want to look at downloading my free PDF that comes with that quiz to actually learn more about simple tips that you can use to start unwinding and becoming more regulated to scale your business. And if this resonates with you and this is something that you really want to go deeper into, then you can also book a discovery call where we can see if we are a match for each other, resonating at the same level. And I can support you in scaling your business from an energetic point of view. All right, guys, you've been legendary. Until next time, share, like, and subscribe. Peace.